Hello there, I am General Zaroff, and welcome back to the continuation of the book The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Cornnell. I'll be your narrator for this part of the story. Now, let's see what I am about to reveal to Mr. Rainford. The poor fella, he has no idea yet what's about to take place. "Watch out there!" exclaimed the general, pointing into the night. Rainford's eyes saw only blackness, and then, as the general pressed a button far out to sea, Rainford saw the flash of lights. The general chuckled. "They indicate a channel," he said, "where there's none. Giant rocks with razor edges crouch like a sea monster with wide open jaws. They can crush a ship as easily as I crushed this nut." He dropped a walnut on the hardwood floor and brought his heel grinding down on it. "Oh yes," he said casually, as if in answer to a question. "I have electricity. We try to be civilized here."
"Civilized? And you shoot down men?" A trace of anger was in the general's black eyes, but it was there for but a second, and he said in his most pleasant manner, "Dear me, what a righteous man you are! I assure you I do not do the thing you suggest. That would be barbarous. I treat these visitors with every consideration. They get plenty of good food and exercise. They get into splendid physical condition. You shall see for yourself tomorrow." "What do you mean?" asked Rainford. "We'll visit my training school," smiled the general. "It's in the cellar. I have about a dozen pupils down there now. They're from the Spanish bark San Lucar that had a bad luck to go on the rocks out there. A very inferior lot, I regret to say. Poor specimens, and more accustomed to the deck than to the jungle." He raised his hand, and Ivan, who served as waiter, brought thick Turkish coffee. Rainford with an effort held his tongue in check. "It's a game, you see," persuaded the general blandly. "I suggest to one of them that we go hunting. I give him a supply of food and an excellent hunting knife. I give him 3 hours start. Of course I am to follow, armed with only a pistol of the smallest caliber and range. If my quarry eludes me for 3 whole days, he wins the game. If I find him," the general smiled, "he loses." "Suppose he refuses to be hunted?" asked Rainford. "Oh," said the general, "I give him his option, of course. He does not need to play the game if he doesn't wish to. If he does not wish to hunt, I turn him over to Ivan here. Ivan once had the honor of serving as official notar to the great white Tsar, and he has his own ideas of sport. Invariably, Mr. Rainford, invariably, they all choose the hunt. And if they win..." The smile on the general's face widened. "To date, I have not lost," he said, and then he added hastily, "I don't wish you to think me a braggart, Mr. Rainford. Many of them afford only the most elementary sort of problem. Occasionally, I strike a Tartar. One almost did win. I eventually had to use the dogs." "The dogs? This way, please. I'll show you." The general steered Rainford to a window. The lights from the window sent a flickering illumination that made grotesque patterns on the courtyard below, and Rainford could see moving about there about a dozen or so huge black shapes as they turned toward him. Their eyes glittered greenly. "A rather good lot, I think," observed the general. "They are let out at 7 every night. If anyone should try to get into my house or out, if it's something extremely regrettable would occur to him. He hummed a snatch of song from the Follies Berger. And now, said the general, I want to show you my new collection of hats. Will you come with me to the library? I hope, said Rainford, that you will excuse me tonight, General Zaroff. I'm not really feeling well. Ah, indeed, the general inquired so litigiously. Well, I suppose that's only natural after your long swim. You need a good, restful night's sleep. Tomorrow you'll feel like a new man, I'll wager. Then we'll hunt, eh? I've one rather promising prospect. Rainford was hurrying from the room. Sorry, you can't go with me tonight, called the general. I expect rather fair sport, a big, strong fella. He looks resourceful. Well, good night, Mr. Rainford. I hope you have a good night's rest. The bed was good, and the pajamas of the softest silk, and he was tired in every fiber of his being. But nevertheless, Rainford could not quiet his brain with the opiate of sleep. He lay, eyes wide open. Once he thought he heard stealthy steps in the corridor outside his room. He sought to throw open the door. It would not open. He went to the window and looked out. His room was high up in one of the towers. The lights of the chateau were out now, and it was dark and silent. But there was a fragment of sallow moon, and by its one light he could see dimly the courtyard. There, waving in and out in patterns of shadow, were black, noiseless forms. The hounds heard him at the window and looked up expectantly with their green eyes. Rainford went back to the bed and lay down. By many methods he tried to put himself to sleep. He had achieved a doze when, just as morning began to come, he heard far off in the jungle a faint report of a pistol. General Zaroff did not appear until luncheon. He was dressed faultlessly in the tweeds of a country square. He was solicitous about the state of Rainford's health. As for me, sighed the general, I do not feel so well. I am worried, Mr. Rainford. Last night I detected traces of my old complaint. To Rainford's questioning glance, the general said, Ennui, boredom. Then, taking a second helping of crêpes Suzette, the general explained. The hunting was not good last night. The fellow lost his head. He made a straight trail that offered no problems at all. That's the trouble with these sailors. They have dull brains to begin with, and they do not know how to get about in the woods. They do excessively stupid and obvious things. It's almost annoying. Will you have another glass of Chablis, Mr. Rainford? General, said Rainford firmly, I wish to leave this island at once. The general raised his thickets of eyebrows. He seemed hurt. But, my dear fella, the general protested, you've only just come. You've had no hunting. I wish to go today, said Rainford. He saw the dead black eyes of the general on him, studying him. General Zaroff's face suddenly brightened. He filled Rainford's glass with venerable Chablis from a dusty bottle. Tonight, said the general, we will hunt, you and I. Rainford shook his head. No, general, he said, I will not hunt. The general shrugged his shoulders and delicately ate a hothouse grape. As you wish, my friend, he said. The choice rests entirely with you. But may I not venture to suggest that you will find my idea of sport more diverting than Ivan's? He nodded towards the corner to where the giant stood, scowling, his thick arms crossed on his hog-check-off chest. You don't mean, cried Rainford. My dear fella, said the general, have I not told you I always mean what I say about hunting? This is really an inspiration. I drink to a foeman worthy of my steel at last. The general raised his glass, but Rainford sat staring at him. You'll find this game worth playing, the general said enthusiastically. Your brain against mine. Your woodcraft against mine. Your strength and stamina against mine. Outdoor chess. And the stake is not without value, eh? And if I win, began our dear Rainford. Of course, I said, I'll cheerfully acknowledge myself defeat if I do not find you by midnight of the third day, said General Zaroff. My sloop will place you on the mainland near a town. The general read what Rainford was thinking. Oh, you can trust me, said the Cossack. I will give you my word as a gentleman and a sportsman. Of course, you in turn must agree to say nothing of your visits here. I agree to nothing of the kind, said Rainford. Oh, said the general, in that case... But why discuss that now? 3 days, hence we can discuss it over the bottle of Favuk Chikliko. Unless... The general sipped his wine. Then a business-like air animated him. Ivan, he said to Rainford, will supply you with hunting clothes, food, and a knife. I suggest you wear moccasins. They leave a poorer trail. I suggest too that you avoid the big swamp in the southeast corner of the island. We call it Death Swamp. There's quicksand there. One foolish fella tried it. The deplorable part of it was that Lazarus followed him. You can imagine my feelings, Mr. Rainford. I loved Lazarus. He was the finest hound in my pack. Well, I must beg you to excuse me now. I always take a siesta after lunch. You'll hardly have the time for a nap, I fear, dear fella. You'll want to start, no doubt. I shall not follow till dusk. Hunting at night is so much more exciting than by day, don't you think? Well, I'll take my leave. Au revoir, Mr. Rainford. Au revoir. Hey there, VoiceTrick here. I hope you guys enjoyed this narration of the most dangerous game. We still have like 5 episodes left, but I've decided to pack them all in one big episode. We're going to go all out next week, so be sure to check back. I promise, it's an episode you don't want to miss.